Martell Holt's crash, which initially seemed like just another unfortunate accident, is now the subject of increasing scrutiny. With every new piece of evidence and every revelation, the questions surrounding what really happened that day continue to multiply. What we thought we knew about this case is quickly becoming a mystery that involves betrayal, secrets, and potentially a deadly plot. Martell Holt, the star of Love and Marriage Huntsville, was recently involved in a violent crash in Huntsville, Alabama. His SUV was found flipped over and completely totaled. There was no sign of braking, no skid marks, and no evidence to suggest that he saw the crash coming. He was unconscious when first responders arrived, and his pulse was weak. His condition was so severe that he was placed in a medically induced coma, and doctors said it was touch and go. At first, law enforcement assumed the crash was a single-vehicle accident. But one person wasn't buying that story. LaTisha Scott, Martell's former co-star on the show, and the wife of Martell's longtime friend, Martell Scott. LaTisha had her suspicions, and she quickly spoke out, saying that something didn't add up. She revealed that Martell had been feeling paranoid in the days leading up to the crash. He had even confided in her that he believed someone was following him. But that wasn't the only strange thing about the accident. As investigators dug deeper, they uncovered some chilling details that raised even more questions. It turns out that Martell wasn't alone on the road that day. Surveillance footage from traffic cameras and gas stations revealed a black Mercedes G-Wagon that kept showing up behind him. The vehicle was always within 2 car lengths of Martell, never passing him and never backing off. This wasn't just a random coincidence. In fact, the footage showed that the G-Wagon sped up just before Martell's SUV veered off course and slammed into a concrete barrier. The witness who was behind Martell's SUV at the time testified that the G-Wagon sideswiped Martell's vehicle, just enough to send it off course, but not hard enough to flip it. But here's the strangest part, the G-Wagon didn't stop. It drove off, vanishing into traffic, without a trace. There were no license plates, no identifying marks, and no further evidence to point to who was behind the wheel. But the most shocking part of this story came when it was revealed who owned that black G-Wagon. Sources close to the case disclosed that just days before the crash, Martell Scott, LaTisha's husband and Martell's longtime friend, had purchased a G-Wagon of the same model, the same trim. The vehicle was still without license plates at the time of the crash, and it had recently been registered. Investigators brought Martell in for questioning, but as of now, no charges have been filed against him. He claimed that the G-Wagon had been in his garage all day, but sources close to the investigation say that law enforcement is reviewing surveillance footage from near his property to see if it matches the time of the crash. The G-Wagon's mysterious role in this incident has led investigators to take a hard look at Martell. They are cross-referencing the vehicle's ownership documents, checking timestamps, and comparing the paint on Martell's wrecked SUV to the G-Wagon's paint. They are also working to match the GPS logs from both vehicles to track their exact locations at the time of the crash. Investigators are using cell tower pings to map out the phone activity from Martell's devices, hoping to establish whether his phone was near the scene of the crash at the time it happened. As all of this unfolded, LaTisha Scott began to speak out more about what she had seen in the days leading up to Martell's crash. She had kept quiet for a while, but sources say that her silence broke before it ever did publicly. LaTisha told producers and close friends that Martell had been acting strangely in the days before the crash. He had been pacing, snapping at people, and seemed visibly angry. He was short-tempered and kept mentioning Martell's name, and LaTisha even warned that something bad was going to happen. At first, no one took her seriously. People assumed it was just marital tension, but in light of what happened next, LaTisha's warning now feels haunting. LaTisha revealed that Martell had even skipped scheduled shoots the day before the crash. He hadn't been sleeping much and was lashing out at people. She described his behavior as strange, and she said it was clear that something had shifted in him. She didn't know what was going to happen, but she felt that something was off. She didn't believe it was just a coincidence that he had been acting so erratically. Now that more time has passed and investigators have continued digging, LaTisha's words are starting to carry a lot more weight. If her suspicions are correct, this wasn't just a random accident, this could have been something much worse. One thing is certain, LaTisha's statements are shaking the foundations of what we thought we knew about this situation. Her revelations, combined with the mounting evidence, are painting a picture of a much deeper conspiracy. The more the investigation uncovers, the clearer it becomes that there may have been an intentional, premeditated plan to harm Martell. And if that's the case, it's not just a tragic accident, it's a calculated move that could have been designed to take him out for good. But why would Morrow do such a thing? Martell and Morrow were once more than just business partners, they were like brothers. They had worked together, shared personal moments, and been there for each other during difficult times. But things began to fall apart when Martell's affair became public. The drama surrounding his relationship with Melody wasn't the only fallout. Morrow was one of the first people to publicly criticize Martell's actions, and behind the scenes, the tension between them only grew. Martell felt betrayed by Morrow, especially after Morrow aired out his grievances on the show. From that point on, what had once been a close friendship began to sour. The jabs between them grew more hostile, and they started fighting more openly. One particularly tense moment on the show saw Martell accusing Morrow of being fake and disloyal. Morrow, in turn, claimed that he was just being honest. Fans of the show watched as the conflict between the two men escalated. It didn't just stay on the show, either. Off-camera, their friendship became increasingly strained. They stopped doing business together, and communication between them all but stopped. But the real question remains, did that anger ever boil over into something much darker? Could Morrow's resentment have reached the point where he was willing to harm Martell? The footage from the crash, the appearance of the black G-Wagon, and the strange behavior from Morrow all seem to suggest that something far more sinister could have been at play. As the investigation continues, the public has begun to scrutinize old footage from the show, looking for any clues or signs that might have foreshadowed the crash. Fans are pointing out moments that now seem loaded with meaning, from the way Martell and Morrow looked at each other to the passive-aggressive jabs they exchanged. Some fans have even gone as far as comparing the G-Wagon seen in the footage to Morrow's vehicle, noting similarities in the trim and the color. One fan commented, "I knew something was off about Morrow from the start. That fake smile never fooled me." Another fan wrote, "Go back to Season 4, Episode 6. The way Morrow looked at Martell when he called him out, there was pure venom in his eyes." This wasn't just a coincidence. While fans continue to debate what happened, some shocking developments have come to light. There are reports that filming for Love and Marriage Huntsville has been put on hold indefinitely. This isn't your typical production delay, cast members were blindsided, and schedules were cleared. Insiders say that everyone was told to go home, and no one is quite sure why the production was halted. Some believe that the network is trying to distance itself from the potential fallout of what might be coming next. The silence from Morrow and LaTisha is also telling. Neither of them has made any public statements. Their social media accounts have gone dark, and there's been no request for privacy or acknowledgement of the situation. It's almost as if they're keeping a low profile while things unfold. But no matter how much silence there is, one thing is clear, Martell is not out of the woods yet, and neither is Morrow. Investigators are not letting up, and they're digging into every angle they can. They are not taking anything for granted. Surveillance footage, GPS logs, cell tower pings, and even paint samples from the wrecked SUV are all being examined for any evidence that could link Morrow to the crash. And while Martell can't speak for himself right now, the growing mountain of evidence and LaTisha's revelations are starting to tell a story of something much darker than anyone could have imagined. Was this just an unfortunate accident, or was it something far more dangerous, a calculated move to eliminate someone who had become a liability? Only time will tell, but one thing is for sure, the truth is coming to light, and it's far from what we thought it would be.